Hey everybody, this is Samaya coming to you live again. Um, Today I'm gonna just kind of read this letter that I wrote to the United States government. I'm still waiting on a settlement from the government and for them to come and rescue me. And I say the word rescue because I am being held hostage electronically by hackers who have hacked into the system. I was illegally chipped, illegally and unlawfully been put under a surveillance that pertain a electronic device, a chip, or whatever you want to call it, security instrument, a broadband device. It's all the same. So nevertheless, that device was secretly implanted and some hackers got into it, as well as some of the perpetrators and the defenders that are involved in this case. So ever since 2013, maybe even 2012, I've been fighting this matter. But as of January 6, 2015, almost 3 years to this day, I've been robbed completely of my life and my entire being. That includes they have access to my thoughts, to my dreams, to my visual. That device controls every organ in a human being's body. So I have been deprived of all of that by any hacker that knows how to access this computer. That know how to hack in. So it's not just one person or a federal agent or a federal government. They may have been the ones that started, but any of their employees have that same knowledge and they can tap into as well too. So for 3 years I've been fighting this, which is a blatant wrong. No man is to be deprived of his fundamental rights. Not even a terrorist, not even a worst prisoner ever can the court of law deprive any man of his fundamental rights. And yet I have been deprived for years, and I'm trying to get those rights back. So daily, every single day, I write, all these people that are the defendant. You got Mr. President Trump. I got a misspell there, but anyways, President Trump, the United Nations, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, Supreme Court of Missouri. Here you can see the District Court of Missouri, Missouri Court of Appeals, District Court of Nevada, and then I have a Burgundy Channel Facebook page that I post on that page. And here, as you can see, Samaya Hodges versus the United States. This is my last attempt for a payment from the United States government and urgent rescue for my child, Lamaya, who has been forced into servitude. And if you don't know what servitude is, kind of like involuntary servitude, almost kind of like a kidnapping situation. It is classified in law as kidnapping. So it's servitude, involuntary servitude is the same, no different than kidnapping when a political body or political official are holding her, forcing her not to do certain things unless I cooperate, because as you can see, that's who my case is against. It's the United States. So here we have Samaya Hodges, one of the people on Court of Records, improper persona, and re of all the cases, because I have so many cases in Missouri. Now I'm at the Supreme Court of Missouri, and I'm also filing with the United Nations and the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Courts, as well as the Nevada courts. So it says in re of all cases pending this matter that Samaya Hodges versus the United States moves the court collectively, that means moves all of them together, to enter for the records of this here final attempt for payment for the settlement offer that I submitted to the United States government. Samaya Hodges, the man of the United States government, and its head, which is the president, the director, to restore I'm plaintiff fundamental rights. Again, that's your visual, your hearing, your thoughts, your own dreams, your, the stuff that they shouldn't be able to take away, privacy rights that no man has the right to take away. Those are my fundamental rights back. To reverse any surveillance order, any and all, I should have said, surveillance order, to unblock all properties in relations thereof. Nowadays, they can block individual's property, and what that means is property. Human beings are considered being property in the court of law, and so different presidents, they can sign orders to block a person's property. That's none other than a conspiracy. What they can do now is remotely, they can conspire everyone against you. Being that so many people are secretly chipped and don't know about it, they can remotely conspire all against you just by blocking a certain person out of your brain without you even know it, out of your without you consciously being aware of, out of your thoughts and everything, without you consciously being aware that, man, I haven't talked to my sister in about 6 months, and that's because her property can be blocked and your name can be deleted from her database in her head, so to speak. So now there's like a new way of conspiring people against you, and you just wondering what's wrong with these people, why they acting different. Well, that's it right there. So again, I'm asking him to unblock all their properties in relations thereof, and in relations thereof meaning everybody that associated with me, everybody's be it my clients, my neighbors, my friends, my family members, whomever, doctors, whomever, everybody that I have relations with and contact with. So in relations thereof, to restore plaintiff and her family their natural identities. Identity theft, it means the same thing. It's unblocking a person's property, restore them back their natural selves. People can be made nowadays to go, a person, let's say a little white kid that went in the church and shot up those kids, he can be programmed remotely from somewhere else. Somebody can program him from, let's say, the government. One of their employees working at the White House can program this little white kid to go into a black church and shoot up all these people. And so that means his identity has been stolen. So they can, or his identity has been stolen, or he can be classified as being under the influence, not necessarily a drug like we think or alcohol like we think, but under the influence, meaning that his identity was stolen. He was not his normal self. He was not his natural self. Somebody else did that. So he was under the influence of doing that. So as you can see here, I'm asking for them to restore everybody in relations thereof identities back, to remove all those devices from plaintiff, which is me, and her immediate bloodline family. That if plaintiff does not receive the first disbursement of, here it is, $20 billion by Wednesday, January the 17th, 2018, by 5 p.m., that plaintiff shall petition the courts to adjudicate this matter as a matter of a right, because that's my right, as a matter of a right, that no court did not have any legal grounds or rights to violate or take any of my fundamental rights away from me. The defendants were held in contempt of court for non-compliance. Non-compliance, they just blatantly refuses to obey any court's order, the judge's mandates, or anything. And even my each time I have written them for to schedule a settlement conference, they just totally blatantly just ignore all that. Thus, it's just giving them the opportunity to continue to keep me in such a state and continue to deprive me of my rights by not obeying the court's order and keeping this here device in me. You know, the courts mandated that you cannot take a person's rights from them. So the courts ordered it, and they mandated it many a times in each court I go to. So now I'm just trying to get the President Trump, trying to get him to go ahead and restore my rights as the judge and the courts told him to, and mandate an order that he do. So that's right there. So let me see where we at. So anyway, so they was held in contempt of court because they refused to comply for non-compliance. Even when the judge asked them to submit them the application that was made for the surveillance order, the person that signed the application, that authorized the application, that approved the application, that made that application, that's called a certification. So when the judge asked for these certain documents and stuff, they refused to just disobey altogether. And that's just a game that these here attorneys, especially these government attorneys, the United States Attorney General, this is just a game they're playing too, because they're hoping that this case is going to stress me out, if not end up killing me or giving me some kind of illness or something like that. So it's a game they play to stall, just kind of stalling and hoping to harm me in the process. But it's still all illegal that they're doing this, because they should have restored my rights back in 2-3 years ago when the judge ordered them, because there is no legal grounds, nowhere written in any book, in any law book, nowhere that says that they have permission to do that. Matter of fact, that is wrong in every country, every country, every constitution, every civil rights, every human rights. That is just wrong regardless. So if they don't pay me that first disbursement by that, then I'm going to ask the judge to go ahead and order the arrest. And as you can see, to order the arrest. So now at the bottom it says, I hereby order Donald Trump and the United States government. Now I'm trying to give them a second chance. Again, as you can see, this is because technically the entire Congress, the House of Representatives, everybody at the White House can be arrested and indicted on charges, and they were already warned that. So I done gave them like hundreds of chances and opportunities to go ahead and just settle this matter out of court. But it's almost as if they want this information to get out, as though they trying to start some type of revolution or out of court. And I'm gonna scroll down. I'm gonna kind of fast forward to some and get to some of this stuff. And these are just some of the many times that I have requested for a settlement conference. Look at these. Look how many chances I gave them. All these are, I'm scrolling. Here go more dates. On all these dates, I asked for settlement. So, you know, this is what I'm going to send to the judge soon. But first, again, I'm trying to give them an opportunity again to pay me one more, you know, last time. And what I'm asking for is crumbs in comparison to what the courts had awarded me. So I'm taking nickels and dimes according to what the judges have awarded me, because I don't want to... I didn't want to prolong this here matter, and my freedom is worth more than the whole world that they're trying to give me. And that's literally the whole world. As you can see, this document here, this was filed back in October 8, 2015. And let's see, and this is the judge, the court right here. In this document, I pretty much, because this was my first time, I didn't really know what I was doing when I filed this case. And so I pretty much asked for the world in this case. I didn't realize it though until like a year or two later what I was really asking for. I just seen in the Missouri courts where it said that you can ask for your ancestors' inheritance, and you can go back, you can trace it back as far as you want. And so I asked for my ancestors' inheritance, and I asked for their inheritance worldwide, and I wanted to go all the way back, you know, for like in AD and all those times. So I asked for all of that, and I said everything that was between the heavens and hell that belongs to our ancestors, that was unclaimed property. They call it hidden treasures or unclaimed properties. And that's what it said in the probate book. So that's what I asked for in this order right here, as you can see. Now, these here, the defendants, and here goes some of the defendants at the time. It was the United States government, the Federal Bureaus of Investigation, the federal and the state law enforcement officers, federal judges, former Attorney General, Secretary of Defense, National Coordinator for the Health Information Technology, for the device, which these people had to give signatures. All these signatures was on that illegal and unlawful surveillance order, you see? And all of these signatures was on there. And so these were the defendants. So the defendants, they violated that order. They just blatantly, when the judge gave them the order and asked for specific things and told them what to do, they just blatantly just didn't obey and didn't do it. So they were held in contempt of court for non-compliance. And so when a person is held in contempt of court for non-compliance, and if they don't do it, then you come back and you can kind of come back and file another petition and ask for a writ of execution, or, you know, a possession of property or whatever it is. You can come back and file and ask for you whatever you want, and anything that you put in that order 25, everything that you put in your motion, your petition, is pretty much yours for the ask, and for them not complying with what the court says. So I pretty much asked for the world here in this order, and it's a few pages long, and I talked about the jurisdiction allegations. Here's some of my allegations here, and this is again from the Missouri courts. Let's see what else we have here. But it's pages and pages. Here's the first cause of action. Then we have fraudulent misrepresentation. Then it has some few citations to go along with everything that and alleging to happen. Assault and battery. You know, where you can find this stuff in the law books and what actually happened. Racketeering, the RICO laws, because you know, uh, and so on and so forth. But I want to show you something else here. 2510. 2510. In the statutes in the law book, it actually talks about this here wire communication, the wiretapping. So 2510, United States Code 2510 through 2522, and it tells you all the signatures that were required. And that's why I immediately went after all these pieces, because once you know and learn that, can't just one person who have a problem with you, they just can't go in and have you secretly chipped. You know, they would have to go. There's a whole process. That see this for electronic devices and all this other stuff. This is a whole process. I am the aggrieved person whose electronic communication was interfered. Electronic communication, that's a broad banning. All forms of my communication was blocked due to this here pen, register, trap, and trace. All forms of that's even talking to individuals. All forms of my communication was blocked. Hold on, I really was trying to get to the part where I show you all the signatures that are required. Can't anybody just do this. You have to get the signatures all the way from the head person, from whoever the president at the time was, be it Bush, Barack, or Donald Trump. You have to get a signature from the head, and then you have to get a signature from the Secretary of State. From the Secretary of State, and all these people that I allege here as the defendants in this case, you see. So again, my rights should have been restored immediately. As soon as the judge gave the order, they should have restored my rights. They should have right or wrong. They should have went ahead and corrected that within themselves. They snuck it in me. They should have found a way to blatantly just, go ahead and get it out, and just would it be it a prescription, or give me an appointment at the doctor's office, since you snuck it in, and now they put me through all this red tape to try to get it out, which is not fair. So now for years I've been fighting this case. The defendants and all the other people involved, they intentionally wanted me to know that they have access to me, 100% transparency to me. And basically that means to my whole inner being, I am left without anything, my whole entire inner being. Again, that's your visual, your sight, your hearing, your medical records, tracking, monitoring, communication, everything that they have. All they left me with is just my faith and my soul. And so I've been fighting this. I've been studying since 2013. Again, they intentionally wanted me to know. And so there's kind of like, I think they're intentionally trying to cause like emotional distress, because even again 3 years later, the judge ordered and mandated that they get it out, and they still won't do it. This stuff here constitute technically, according to the United Nations, they should have interfered. And when the courts and the government of the United States of America don't do anything about such a crime like that, and even after the United Nations also told them that all of them could be indicted and for them to restore my rights, and they just blatantly still refuses to do so, the United Nations themselves can declare war on America for doing so, because this is wrong. So United Nations is like a world court. They technically can go ahead and declare war on America for doing this. So they mandated, they ordered them, they told them, look, give that girl back her rights, give that girl back her fundamental rights. You know this is wrong, so stop doing it. And again, they are just refusing to do so. But again, so here is chapter 19, and this talks about the Wiretap Act. And I urge you to start studying some of this stuff for yourself, because 90% of Americans have this device in them. So I urge you to start studying this for yourself. Wire, electronic communication, interception, and interception and interceptions of oral communication. So let's see, prohibit use of or authorization for interception of wire, authorization for disclosure of information. Let's go to the authorization for wired or communication. As you can see, the Attorney General here, the Deputy Attorney General, the Associate Attorney General, or any Assistant Attorney General, any Acting Attorney General, or any Deputy Attorney Assistant General or Acting Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Criminal Division or in the National Security Division. All these people may authorize an application to a federal judge of his competent jurisdiction. For any such judge may grant informality with Section 2518 of this chapter an order authorizing or approving the interception of wire or oral communication by federal bureaus of investigation or a federal agent having responsibility for the investigation of an offense as to which the application is made. When such interception may be provide evidence of. I'm going to break some of this down for you just for a little bit before I continue to move forward. Basically, chapter 118 of the chapter 10 of the United States Codes 18, which is 2510 through 2522. Basically, what that is saying that in order for a person to be secretly chipped or under an unlawful surveillance without their knowledge, I mean, just basically, whether it's with their knowledge or not their knowledge, there is a process that has to take place. First, the person has to be under some type of investigation, okay, for not just for any crime. It has to be one of those infamous crimes like explosion or kidnapping or terrorist. It has to be one of these major crimes, not just a petty crime. And then, so they have to be under investigation for years. This person knows about it. This person had to have been in a court process and had a trial, a jury, and all this sort of stuff. The person is supposed to have known about that they were under an investigation and that they had a case pending. Also, this had to be the last resort, meaning that whoever made the application, let's say an investigator made the application, the investigator had to have said, look, Your Honor, Judge or the Attorney General, I have tried we've been watching the suspect for about 5 years. We have tried to apprehend him, but we can't get anything on him. We know he has did, whatever crime that they allege that he did. We know he have done that, but we cannot get anything on him. So it's imperative that we, get this order so that we can get the information that we need from this guy. Okay, so as a last resort, that's when they have to do that. And then once the application is, that investigator make that application, then an attorney general authorizes it, then she takes it to a judge. And then the judge signs off on it. And like I said, all these other people here, it has to go through hands, it has to go through Congress as well for a particular type of surveillance. Now, after the process has been granted, it's only for that whole process lasts. It's only for 30 days. After, if that attorney still need additional time, or that investigator needs additional time, he would have to start this process all over again. He would have to go back to the judge and say, this is what we found. As you can see, we did have a little bit of what we're looking for, but we still don't have all of what we need. And so he documents all of this, and then he puts it on his application. He submits for another order. And each time he submits for an order, it's only in 30 days increments. And I think 90 days been the cap for this. Also, the judge has, so he has to inform the judge every 30 days of his progress. Then the judge every end of the year, and the Attorney General every end of the year have to also give Congress that same information. They have to give Congress the same information about the information that was found and what happened. And all these peoples every 30 days, and some of them once a year, have to record the progress of this here information and their findings and what happened and when they start and when they stop and did they apprehend the person for such. So as you can see, again, this is all a process. Now, I had to tell you all of that so you understand how it works, and you can see how is it that I have a case and where the trouble begins, and some of the unlawful criminal behaviors that happen that was very unlawful, that didn't line up with what their protocol or what the statutes tell them that they should do. First of all, I was not under any investigation. I'd never been investigated for absolutely anything. I didn't know about this. This was done for malicious evil or malicious intent because I had no clue about any of this here stuff. So I was not under no investigation. And again, I told you this has been going on for years. I submitted information from the Department of Justice via the Freedom of Information Act. So I submitted for anything pertaining to me. When I got that information back, it was a whole packet, a stack of stuff, letters and papers, where many people, not one, hundreds of people, was asked in the United States government for my personal data. They wanted insight into this same surveillance information that the government had already granted someone else, and all these hundreds of people now wanted this same information. Let's see if I can find this on here. They wanted the same access and insight to the same surveillance. So basically, that means all these hundreds of people are illegally watching me and monitoring me too. And so, oh, and I said all that to say, when I got the documents back from the Department of Justice, one was dated back 2005. So I know for sure that this order, and I've been under a secret surveillance since 2005. That's 12 years that this order been around. And remind you again, I told you that earlier that you can only a person legally, this cannot be done. That's impossible legally. Only way that is supposed to happen is every 30 days, not 12 years straight. And there's a cap on that for like 90 days, I believe it is. So 90 days, and I want you to go back and you can kind of read some of this stuff for yourself, but there is a cap on that. And so we're talking 90 days straight that I have been under surveillance for no apparent reason whatsoever. Now, when I began to start studying the law in 2013, every person that I was in contact with, that I know, absolutely every person had been under interrogation. They was being questioned, they was being arrested, they was being threatened, they was being forced to do certain things, everything. After the government interrogated absolutely everybody, everybody on my Facebook page, people I went to school with, you name it, they interrogated everybody. Still, they came up with absolutely nothing. Once they found out, like, dude, we got the wrong person. We made a huge mistake, a terrible mistake. Once they even tried to send this guy into my life, trying to get me to move with him to Africa, but I knew it was a setup because they realized they had made a mistake, and now they try to get rid of me. Like, oh shit, we messed up with this young lady right here, and so again, they came up short. They didn't find anything on me, and everybody had nothing but praises about me. They had nothing bad to say about me. So now they know they blatantly did a wrong, and they don't really know. They have to compensate me for that because they turned up short, and they know they made a mistake now, but yet they still refuse to restore my rights. Well, that's because what they were trying to do was intentionally caused me mental harm. Instead of restoring the rights, they said, oh, shit, we don't know what to do no more. So they intentionally started out trying to kill me. Once I was at St. Louis at the Ferguson event, bullets came from behind me and just barely missed me and hit one of the police officers. It was the night the police officers got shot. I believe that was intended for me, but because the guy was sitting up high on the hill and we were down, it aimed downward, but it hit the police officer that was in front of me. However, I was warned not to go there that night. So these people, they tried to kill me through that. They're constantly sending fumes and gases through the vents in my home. And I knew it was, but before I spoke up on it, I wanted to make sure, because you don't want people to think that, something wrong with that girl. She has some mental issues or whatever the case is. So you want to always speak with facts, especially when you're going up against these heavy hitters like that. So, so one day I went home. I discovered in my closet that all my leather stuff was being eaten up. Now, I was gone away for about a year or two from Las Vegas, and I went back to my home in Las Vegas. It was empty all the time. When I got back, and during that month, the shoes wasn't raggedy. They wasn't raggedy or torn when I first got back, but I stayed there for about a month or two. And during that stay there, I could tell there was fumes being deployed through my vents. And when I could tell, because it was odorless fumes, but I would cover my nose and my eyes, because my nose would burn, and I could always tell when that stuff was coming out. So I got a towel and I would put it on my nose. And I really didn't have no evidence other than my shoes look like they got white powder on them, so you have to constantly wipe those off. And so I really didn't have no evidence of that, other than I knew something wasn't right. And during that time, I didn't have on any electricity because I had been gone for about a year and a half. I'm just back in Vegas, hoping that something would give so I can get my life back on the right track. Well, and I was staying with another lady around the corner, but during the daytime, I would go over to my house and just stay there for a while. Well, look at this. This always happens when I'm trying to study or do something. This is like their way of trying to threaten me. These computer geeks always do this. It's their way of a warning. Like, okay, kiddo, they do that every time. Make that appear every time I'm talking about something that they don't necessarily want me to talk about. Okay, and so during that 2-month period, one pair of shoes I had brought back with me, my boots, all of the leather products and shoes and clothing, jackets and stuff in my home was being destroyed by whatever this fume was. Now, mind you, I don't have no electricity on there. So how is this fume coming through these vents? I have pictures that I have posted up on Pinterest and my Facebook and different other sites of these shoes. But my boots were being torn and all the leather stuff was being torn. My bed had, damages. My theater chairs had damages, and just my leather jacket. And I noticed it was just all the leather stuff that was damaged from whatever odorless gas and chemicals that was being deployed in my home. Then also, another way they were trying to harm me is called through a nuclear freeze. I am constantly being made to be frozen to death, like literally, like I'm so cold. Like you can put 100 blankets on top of you and you wouldn't warm up. That's because sometimes there's 2 ways they were doing it. One way they were doing it, a nuclear freeze, is from within, from the device. They can chill you, freeze you from within, from the device. And then there's another way they can do it. What I have discovered is that everybody home who has air conditioning units, within those systems, fumes can be made to come out if the government choose to, or also some type of it's like almost like a cold. It's like a what you kind of call that? I call it a nuclear freeze, but like an antifreeze cold. It's super cold. I can't explain. It's different from any cold I ever felt. But that kind of cold too can also be made to come out of your vents as well. And so when I was sharing that with my air conditioner guy, because he said this was during the time my air conditioner was on, and I was complaining about it being super cold, somebody's intentionally freezing me. He said, Samaya, he said, that is impossible. He said, your compressor is broke. You can't, this motor not even coming on. You can't get no kind of air. I said, I promise you, I be freezing in this house. I don't know. And this is in the summertime. I said, I promise you, I'm freezing in this house. I don't know what happened, but somebody is freezing the daylights out of me. So he suggests that when you feel that air blowing, what I want you to do is get a piece of tissue paper and you tape it to that vent. And if it's blowing, then you get some air. Well, I did just what he told me to do. I got some tissue paper, I taped it to that vent, and guess what? Sure enough, and I have a video I uploaded already on that. That paper was just flying back and forth, flying back and forth, flying back and forth. So see, there was, and this is hot outside, and we talking about Vegas, it was hot, but yet somebody was freezing me. One of the things in which the judge ruled in my favor was I took her a copy of the electric bill. You can order your electric bills by the day, daily usage. During the times that the hours that I was complaining about someone freezing me, and most times it was during the time I'm trying to sleep from 8 p.m. to like 4 in the morning. It was during those hours that the graphs showed that they just went skyrocket on that electric bill during the times I was sleeping. So somebody was intentionally trying to cause me harm and freeze me when I was, while I was sleeping. So again, it was during that time. And I had like many of those printouts that I showed to the judge, and she looked at some of my other information. She said, yeah, somebody's definitely like picking on you. Definitely has some substantial evidence, she calls it. And so she did rule in my favor. But however, at the time when she did that in Las Vegas, I hadn't studied enough about law yet. I didn't know how to go back and to ask for whatever damages and different things that I needed. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because a year or two later, I learned so much more that was going on. And if I had to settle that case then, I wouldn't know all the other stuff that has happened that I need to deal with. So in a sense, I'm kind of glad it didn't, because it only would have fixed one small problem, and I would have been right back in court again trying to get justice for some of this other stuff that I later found out. Okay, so as I was speaking, I was trying to find the information that I shared with you earlier about the Department of Justice and what they sent to me. And here is let me see if I can blow this up. Okay. These is all notice of an intent to use foreign information. I'm going to click on one. Let's see. This one, it says from 2013. Now, this is the Department of Justice. And as you can see, we have many files, and each one of these files have about 50 pages or so in there. And as you can see, it says the United States, Southern District of Illinois, Eastern District, United States of America versus this. And what they all have in common are Muslim names, okay? And another thing they all have in common is the government, a notice of an intent to use Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act information. A notice of an intent to use, see, they want to use that information, to use Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act information. This is foreign intelligence, meaning the information that they have are collecting, that the United States has collected. These people are wanting to use that information. Everybody's document says the same thing. So let's scroll down, because each page, and that was in, look at this. See, that's in, look at that. 2012, date September 2012. Okay. Here's another one. Look at this. What that say? A notice of an intent to use this here foreign information, to use this here surveillance information. That's 2012, and here it is 2018, 6 years later. But we know it started in 2005, and I'll show you that in a bit. And here we go. Here's another one. You see, and all of them are notice of an intent to use foreign information. That was for 2013. Here we go. I'm going to kind of turn the phone around. See, all of them are the same. But there's one. I want to show you one particular one. Let's see if I can find it. That's 2012. That's a whole packet. 2011. 2010. These are packets. These are not just one. Another 2010. This one here is 2005. Let me see. Now this one here's what kind of concerns me there. That date says October the 15th, 1966. You see that? Now that's been handwritten on there. I'm not sure why Department of Justice say that that's been handwritten. Sometimes they don't always give you all the information you needed. But October, when I seen that date, I immediately thought, baby, did this happen like a year after I was born? Because I'm born October 13, 1965. But yet that handwritten date on the bottom said October the 15th, 1966. So I'm not sure about that. But this letter is basically saying, okay, Samaya, here's the information that you asked us for, and I'll let you see it. That's my name. Dear Miss Hodges, this is your email, yada, 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 seeking a copy of the case name. See, this is just basically a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but it is just, I'll let you kind of see it. You see the Department of Justice intend to enter into evidence. They just saying, okay, it's a cover letter. This is what the information you requested. Here it is, pretty much. I'm going to scroll down. This one is 2009. There was one that I don't see it. I'm looking for. Hold on. This was filed. Oh, let's go back to this. Let's show you this since I'm at this. This is the order from the Missouri courts. Look. Here's my name. That's the order. And here's the notice. It said a notice of invalid lien. This is what I filed. An invalid lien for absolute possession of deeds. And this is a judge. See, that's the order. They just sometimes give you one or two words. They don't always say everything, but it says order. And then it says an order regarding a service that this case shall proceed by a summons. You see? So these are the people that I have alleged. Look. And the judge has pretty much given me permission to lock them up. Look at this. You see? You see that? So that is an order, but because the people that I need them to be locked up, the people who you go to have these people locked up, I wanted to show you something else, but I don't want to take you too much off track yet. But this is another important document. I guess I'll show it later on another video, and I'm still looking for a particular one. So I don't see that one. Hold on, there's one more other one I want to show you pertaining to these court orders and the information that I got back from the the Department of Justice. Let me see if I can find it. But anyways, that one is where it says, I showed you all those Muslim names. It said the United States, and each one had like a Muslim name on there. But there was one particular one. It didn't have a Muslim name on there. It said a Holy Land Foundation. I'm going like, Holy Land Foundation? What are y'all interested in? Why do you want this information about me? So I'm going to kind of explain to you again I'm going to kind of explain to you the best I know how. And I'm still trying to understand a lot of this myself. It's been a bit much. So I'm still trying to understand some of this. I'm learning as I go too. Okay, so the Holy Land Foundation, here's what's happening. And it says surveillance information for foreign intelligence. Foreign intelligence meaning an outside source. Foreign information. So basically, the government, how can I say this? Certain people believe that I'm a rare individual, that I possess certain qualities about myself. I have a lot of uniqueness that the average person may not have. And so they've been kind of monitoring me and keeping me under surveillance without my knowledge or consent for many, many years. Without my knowledge or consent, they've been keeping me under surveillance and watching me. Well, I think this is how it happened. I'm not really really sure, but it appears that some of the Muslim people and the blacks found out about that in 2005, and maybe perhaps that's why all the names are Muslims. They found out about it, and I know for a fact some blacks did find out about this here government classified information pertaining to me that they started in 2005. So some of the blacks got involved and they found this information pertaining to me in 2005, that what the government was doing, some classified government information. Well, when they found that information out about me, they put the government on blast pretty much, and they wanted to see too. So they wanted to see, no, if what you say is true about this here individual, then we want to see it too. I'm assuming that's what all of this is. Again, I'm trying to break it down, as you can see here. Wait, let's see if I can get that. As you can see here, notice of an intent to use foreign intelligence surveillance. So they want to use that same foreign intelligence, surveillance. If you are an individual that have natural occurring dreams, and if you are given like an insight about certain information, or you naturally can kind of know what the government is doing without having any real physical knowledge thereof, like if you have an intuition, some people are considered themselves like psychics, some people say they have intuition, some people can speak into the future, stuff like that. So if you these type of people where you can kind of have a real intuition, or you have real dreams or whatever, you can be, the government will spy on you, and they call it foreign intelligence. They call it foreign intelligence, meaning your higher power or whomever that may collect that information, or keep an eye on you because you are getting information from a foreign place. So in other words, I guess what I'm trying to say, these people had me under surveillance for many, many years, as I found it earliest to be 2005. But if that handwriting on that particular document is true, that says from when I was 1 year old, which would make it 52 years. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's a bit much. But so far we know it's from 2005. So these people's been monitoring me and have me under surveillance practically all my life then, with that being the case. And I'm just finding out about it. And how I found out about it is because a hacker got into the system and start trying to use it, and many start trying to use it for their own gain and their own personal victories, or whatever the case may be. And so some hackers intentionally start letting me know that they had access to me. They would intentionally let me know they can see what I see. They could intentionally let me know that they can hear what I hear, or whatever else I think, or whatever, by acting out certain things. And I'm gonna see if I can give you an example of just a few things. Like for instance, I had just used the restroom, and I had started my monthly period. And I didn't have any pads nearby. I just kind of padded with some tissue paper when I got out. And so when I got out the restroom, I got a notification on my phone that says pads only cost $2. And that kind of like started me and freaked me. My phone was nowhere near me, and I'm in the restroom. And then there was another time I was leaving the library, and I'm thinking now, I'm only thinking to myself, I'm saying, oh my God, I'd be so glad when I hope that the FBI or somebody is investigating the stuff, because at this time I've sent letters all over the world for people to, for intervention. So I said, oh my God, I pray that somebody's investigating this. I'm thinking this in my head. This lady come by in a matter of seconds. She didn't even have time to get a phone call, but she walked past me and said, private investigator. I was just like, oh my God, no, she didn't. That happened. One other time I was at the library, and I was typing something, and I had just stated a fact on a document that I was typing. And the lady next to me, sitting in the chair, she said, I was at a public library. She said, just as I made just as I stated that particular fact, she said, your black ass going to jail. And that kind of like started me, and I was just like, my heart started beating because she did it just as her time. And then we wasn't talking. I didn't know her. Just all of a sudden, she just said, "Your black ass going to jail," talking to me. And that kind of started me, and my heart got to racing, and nobody gave her a phone call. She didn't know. Within seconds, she said that. And so right after she said that, my heart started racing. I get a notification on my phone, and the notification on my phone said, or check your heart rate. So somebody knew that my heart rate was beating. And so on and so on. So I have like many of these here testimonies that I can share with the public as to what has happened. Now, after these people interrogated everybody and conspired everybody against me, pulled all my family and stuff against me, and forced them to do, I don't know, it appears to me they forced them to join some kind of organization just to be able to leave me alone or something. So all of them had to post little ugly pictures of themselves, and I'm gonna kind of show you. Look at it on social media. Look at this. Look at my nephew. Look here, my cousin. This sister here, she would never wear hair like this. She always wore long, beautiful weaves. So this is kind of like an ugly picture if you know her. Because look at her hair. It's just her natural hair, and it's short and kinky, and she never let nobody see her natural hair. She always wore weaves. So if you have to know her to know that that's not cool. Look at this. They have to do all this crazy stuff. Hold on, let me get to some other gruesome ones. This lady here, she just somebody that was murdered in the process. This lady here, she was never on social media, and she wouldn't have never took this picture. Look like she's laying down. I don't know if y'all can see it, but look like she's laying down. She's so vain in her beauty and her glamour. She would have never did that on social media. Matter of fact, at the time, she was not even on social media. Ooh, this is here gonna trip you out. To your right, this picture right here, this is my dad. That's my dad. Look at this. And look at this. So everywhere I would go, the government would send, or whoever these elected officials are, government people, they would send lookalikes of every family member that I had. And these people would actually have the same mannerism. So I started without them knowing and trying to take their picture, because I know if you just tell people stuff like that, they have a hard time trying to wrap their minds around it or phantom what it is that you're talking about. So everywhere I go, there would be people resembling family members of mine, and they also had the same mannerism. Like they may hold their hand the exact way, they may move, cross their legs the exact way, just they had the exact same mannerism. Now, my dad had died. The first time I seen it, I called him an actor. The first time I seen an actor of my father was a month after he had already died. And these people was, again, using this, trying to intentionally cause mental harm. And I'm going to show you. Look at him again. That's my dad. Look at this. I couldn't get too close up on him because, mind you, I'm trying to sneak that picture. Look at that. Okay, so we want to show you that. That's another one. Some of these people, you have to know them to know what they're doing. That's why I have little writings under there. Look at this one here. This was the day I left. I left January 6th, 2015, going to Missouri, trying to get some help because I had ran out of resources in Las Vegas, and I couldn't get any help anywhere. And what made me leave, because it was that week that I left that I felt like somebody had put fear in my daughter. Somebody had like I said, threatened or put fear in her because she was acting really weird, and she was home for college, and she was acting really strange and scared. So I left without thinking. I said, I got to go find somebody. I need some help to protect my daughter, because I had contacted every elected official. I had went through the courts. I did everything I know how, and I still, up until this day, I filed over 100 petitions for protection orders and restraining order for my child, and I have not received not one yet, and I have filed hundreds of them. And so at that time I left, and I was so scared. I was so scared for her, and I just had to go somewhere and get some help. Well, the day I arrived, I had to use the bathroom. By the way, St. Louis, Missouri is my hometown, my birth city town. And so I stopped by a friend, an older lady, a friend of mine home, and I had to use the bathroom. So I stopped by her house first soon as I got off the freeway. Well, as soon as I got off the freeway, somehow, some way, somebody knew I was coming. And when I walked into her living room, there was about 50 of these newspapers on her couch. Look. The significance of this picture is this girl looked just like my daughter. She looked just like my daughter. And it's just a couple days after I had drove into Missouri. And she had red tape on her mouth because somebody's trying to tell me to shut up and don't share this information. And so they had red tape on her mouth that says, I can't breathe. Look. The newspaper is the St. Louis American newspaper. And so she had about 50 of those on her desk, on her sofa when I got there. I'm going to go ahead and end this right now. I wanted to show you something else, but my phone is going dead, and I have to be able to upload it. So before it cuts me off, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug it up now. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of like get rid of end this one for now, and then I'll upload later, more later.